Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Ahmad Bayan, coming to you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Alright, this one here is just a quick one through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, basically speaking about, wisdom, and this is something that we need to have and to basically keep with us in this time, alright, until the Lord return. Alright, and when I say the Lord return, I'm speaking about Yahweh Shai. Alright, those of you who stumble upon this video here, the Lord name, alright, is not no Jesus Christ. Alright, his father's name is not no Yahweh or Yahuwah or anything like that. The father's name is Yahweh. Alright, Yahweh is his name. He is, he exists, and his only begotten Son, his name is Yahweh Shai. Alright? Both of their names are in Hebrew. Paleo Hebrew, that is. Alright? So we're going to start from the book of Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 1. It says, "Do it not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice." Alright? And you realize it's saying her. Some people might read these things and think is speaking about a literal woman. No. Alright? Speaking about her. Her is Sophia. Alright? Which going into what? Wisdom. Alright? It says, "She standeth in the top of the high places, by the way in the places of the path. She crieth at the gates, at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors," right? Because you're gonna hear this word preaching out there on the highways and byways and so forth. Scriptures say, "Wisdom cried out in the streets." Alright? Wisdom cried out in the streets. The men of the Lord who you see with the garments on, that sighing and crying, and prophesying, alright, that you always pass on the streets and mock and scoff at, alright, those men has wisdom. That is where wisdom is preaching, alright, not in these harlot houses called churches, alright. It is out on the streets. That is where you're going to hear that word. That is where the Lord speaks to everyone. And when I say everyone, everyone, because everyone has to hear this word before he return. Alright? From the heathens, they're going to hear it. And also, most importantly, the elect, alright, of Israel. Okay? It says, "She cried at the gates, at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors. Unto you, O men, I call." Alright? It says, "And my voice is to the sons of man. O ye simple, understand wisdom." Alright? And right now, wisdom is that most important thing. Alright? They say wisdom is what the principal thing. Alright? It says, "And ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart," meaning an understanding mind, right? Not speaking about the heart in your chest, alright? Speaking about your mind, alright? It says here, "For I will speak of excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be righteous things." Salakia, right things, alright? And the Lord speaks through who? His servants, the prophets. Alright, that's how the Lord speaks, through his servants, the prophets. Okay? It says, for my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. So the Lord is not going to speak evil, speak wickedness, He's not going to speak these type of things. Alright? The Lord's words are faithful and true. Alright? It says, all the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing forward or preserve or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understand it. Right? And the ones who are going to get that understanding is only going into the elect. Alright? The elect of Israel. Abaratazah, we be part of that elect number. Okay? Because 2/3 of our people, they're not going to hearken on to this word. Alright? So does that mean that we don't have to speak to them? Yes, what we saying, what we preaching is for them. Alright? Is for them. And out of that group of people that we preach to, which is the lost sheep of Israel, which are the so-called Negroes, the Hispanics, and the Native American Indians today, and also the ones that scattered abroad on the four corners of the earth that look like the other nations, alright, which are also Israelites, through the seeds, of their father, alright. This word is for the whole of Israel. But in the midst of all of Israel, it has elects, alright? It has those little cluster grapes here and there that has to be picked, has to be pulled away from the destruction that is going to come upon the earth, right? It says they are all plain to him that understand it, and right to them that find knowledge. Receive my instruction, and not silver. Right? Silver go into what? Silver go into also money. Gold also goes into money. Right? So don't go and try and say, well, you're going to look for money to try to get you out of stuff and whatnot. To buy yourself out of trouble. Your money, just now this money is going to die. Right? It's basically dead already. Alright? You just have to bury it now. That's why Esau creating a digital system. Alright? A one world government. Alright? This is why he's coming with these different things. Okay? So the best thing to have in this time right now is called wisdom. Alright? Get to know Sophia. Alright? That wisdom is going to help you in tough times, in rough times. Alright? It's going to guide you. It's going to keep you on the righteous path. Alright? And you're going to be able to make it out that tunnel. Alright? You're going to see the light. Okay? It says, receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies. Right? Wisdom is better than rubies. So higher up it's showing you that wisdom also is better than what? Money. Alright? Wisdom is better than all these things. And who does send that wisdom? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Alright? It says here, for wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. Alright? You can't compare anything with wisdom. Alright? It says, I wisdom dwelleth with prudence, and find out knowledge with witty invention of witty inventions. Alright? Let's jump to the the book of Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 1. Alright? It says, "Hear ye children, the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also, and said unto me, Let thy heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee." Love her, alright? And you realize it keeps saying she and her. As I say, speaking about who? Speaking about Sophia, alright? The most beautiful woman is wisdom, alright? It says, "Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee." Let's read it in the NLT. Proverbs 4 and verse 6 in the NLT. It says, Don't turn your back on wisdom, for she will not protect you. Love her, and she will guard you. Right? Because in that time of trouble that coming up very soon, Jacob's trouble, which has already started, you will see it in certain countries and whatnot. Look at what's going on in Cuba, and so forth. It just building up. Jacob's trouble is just building up piece by piece until it go to an all-time high, and all hell break loose. No one cares about each other's feelings or anything like that. All morals just drop, and people just start acting a fool, who unaliving who for the lack of bread and so forth. All these things is going to come. But that wisdom, having that wisdom in those times that is coming up, it is very, 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 very beneficial for us in those times. Alright? So you have to practice. You have to continue. Alright? Do as Yahushai do. Alright? Understand that Yahushai was not no wayward person and doing wickedness in the earth and whatnot like that. Alright? He was on his father's business at the age of 12. Alright? We as men of the Lord today, we are different age and whatnot. We are adults, so therefore we have to think, like adults, put off the childish behavior, put off that childish behavior. It says here, Proverbs 4 and 6 again in the KJV, it says, "Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding." Right? Let's go into that word. Let's go into that word, principle.
Strong's H 7225. Reshith, Reshith. Second entry. Reshith, Reshith.
Right? It says, outline biblical usage. It says first, beginning. Right? It says best, chief, beginning, first, chief, choice part. Right? So the principal thing is the best thing to do. Alright? Which is what? Wisdom. You're going into the best. Alright? The only thing that it's supposed to be on your mind. Alright? Every walk that you, every man in this truth, every woman in this truth, you know, we all have a lot, you know, every one lot is different from each other. All right, different women, you know, you're gonna face different trials. You know, some of y'all already have your husband, you know, some of y'all don't have any. All right, and just be patient, you know, be patient with your husband. You know, if you don't have a husband yet, be patient. All right, because you know these are things that, yeah, you know, the Lord is basically working on you to get you to a particular point, you know. And every step that you take, you have to use what? Wisdom. All right, you have to use wisdom. Same thing with the men. All right, you might have a family. All right, yeah, you use wisdom in everything that you do. Right, you mightn't have a family. All right, same thing, have patience, you know. And you know, you continue pushing, you know, every step that you take, you use wisdom. All right, and it's the same thing over and over and over. You practice something over and over and over, and eventually it will become part of you. All right, so think positive. All right, don't think negative, think positive. All right, keep the Lord in your mind at all time. The scriptures say, think about how you go again, boy. Let your conversation be in heaven. All right, that's how things are to be. Let your conversation be in heaven. All right, it's going into your thoughts. It's going into your ways, how you portray yourself. You know, how you move, you walk. All right, is a doing thing. You know, you make sure and put your best effort forward. All right, you practice something over and over, which is righteous things I'm speaking about. You practice that, and eventually it will become part of you. All right, it will be easier as breathing. All right, so let's jump back here. Let's go and let's look it up on Google. Principle, divine
Principle.
right? It says principle refers to the highest ranking person, example school leader, right? Or the most important thing, mean or chief. Mean or chief. It also signifies the original capital sum of money invested or borrowed, separate from interest. Right? I mean studying that part. Alright? But you know it's the highest ranking thing. Alright? It's the highest ranking thing. Wisdom. Alright? That's why they say wisdom is the principal thing. Alright, let's read it again. Alright? It says wisdom, Proverbs 4 and 7, it says wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Alright? This is what we have to do. We have to get understanding. All our wisdom we have, we get the understanding. Alright? I want to go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. You know, chapter 10. You know, and verse 1. We're going to read down in the GNT a little bit. You know, and it's just showing you, you know, little highlights. Right? What I want to show you here. It says, wisdom protected Adam, right? The other one, it says, this one here say Cain abandoned wisdom, you know, so he had repercussions to face after. You know, the other one says wisdom protected Noah. Alright? And you know, the first two on top, you know, not the first two on top, so like here, this one and this one here, and it has some more at the bottom, right? These, you know, these men, was going with with what the Lord tell him to do, the righteous thing. All right. Cain today, all right, Cain today was, is basically he reincarnated back as who? Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, because what he did when he was Cain, he slew his brother Abel. All right, he didn't use wisdom. All right, he didn't use wisdom. As you're seeing here, Cain abandoned wisdom. All right, so we're gonna just read some of them. All right, and we're gonna close it off. All right, so Wisdom of Solomon 10 and verse 1. It says, Wisdom protected the father of the world, the first man that was ever formed, when he alone had been created. She saved him from his own sinful act. All right? That's Sophia. All right? Sophia saved him that wisdom. All right? And gave him the strength to master everything on earth. All right? Give him the strength to master everything on earth. So we having that wisdom, we're going to be able to master everything on that on earth. All right? We have to follow in the footsteps of Yahushai. And Adam, back then was Yahushai. Okay? If you could receive it. All right? Now, next one here, Cain abandoned wisdom. It says, but there was an unrighteous man. All right? And that goes in, that fast forward into these devils today that is ruling Esau, Edom, so-called white man, the top banking families. They ain't righteous in no type of way. They are created to be crooked. All right? They created to do evil. All right? It says, but there was an unrighteous man who abandoned wisdom. He destroyed himself by killing his brother in a fit of anger. Right? Or he quick to lift his hand. He quick to lift a sword. All right? It says here, wisdom protected Noah. It says, because of that sin, the earth was flooded, but wisdom saved it again. She guarded a righteous man in his flimsy we say flimsy wooden boat. They're disrespectful. The thing wasn't no flimsy. It was strong. I'm telling you. Right? So, wisdom give Noah that, that understanding to know, is to make haste, and to build that ark. All right? And that ark is what saved him and his family. All right? And that same family had to repopulate the earth. All right? It says, next one, it says, wisdom helped Abraham. All right? And we know Abraham is our forefather. All right? We know Abraham, the Lord made a promise with Abraham that the whole of Israel is going to be saved. All right? But the Lord is only coming to return for who? Just the remnant at this moment. All right? The elect. And this is what we do when we preach in this word, to gather the elect. All right? So we have an important job. All right? To gather the elect, to keep them close to the Lord. All right? Until the Lord return, gather the elect. All right? Starting with the 144,000. Abaratazar will be part of that elect number. All right? And we'll be able to get taken up in the clouds. Which those clouds goes into what? The chariots of the Lord. Today you all will look at it and say they are UFOs, or spaceships. All right? But they really and truly, the names of them are chariots. All right? And this is what we're waiting for, salvation. All right? Seeking salvation. It says, once wisdom helped Abraham. It says, verse 5, once when the nations were frustrated in their wicked plans, wisdom recognized a righteous man and kept him innocent in God's sight. She saved him, Salakia, she gave him strength to obey God's command in spite of his love for his son. You see that? She gave him, look that part there. I'm going to highlight that part there. It says, she gave him strength, right? That same, this part here. She gave him strength to obey God's command, all right? In spite of his love for his son, all right? It says here, wisdom rescued Lot, right? It says, wisdom rescued a righteous man while ungodly people were dying. He escaped the flames that destroyed the 5 cities. You can still see the evidence of their wickedness. The land there is barren and smoking. The plants bear fruit that never ripens, and a pillar of salt stands as a monument to one who did not believe. All right, and Lot wife, they tell Lot wife not to look back, but Lot wife still look back, and this is how she representing majority of Israel today. We telling you all to come out of that wicked ways, turn back to the Lord. But our people so stiff-necked and hard-headed, they want to look back to see what they're going to miss. So therefore, when they're looking back now, it's going to slow them down. Because you can't, if you think about it, could you run quickly? Could you run really fast and still look back? You will have to slow down. Your body will automatically slow down because you're looking back. Right? You won't be able to run fast and looking back at the same time. All right? So this is what most of our people are going to do. They're going to look back at this place and they're going to be like, all this other let go. All this other let go just to come back to the Lord. But what the Lord say? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. Right? So you seek the kingdom first. Seek the kingdom first. All right? Seek the kingdom first. And everything else shall be added unto you. All right? It's just having patience, having that wisdom, and getting that understanding. All right? Do as Yahweh shall do. It says, verse 8, the people of those cities ignored wisdom and could not tell right from wrong, right? Because the wisdom will give you the understanding of right from wrong, but these people didn't have it, all right? These people was just sinners, and the Lord just took out that he took out Lot, out of that mayhem that was coming there, all right? It says the people of those cities ignored wisdom and could not tell right from wrong. Not only that, but the remains of their cities still remind us of foolish way they live, so that their failure can never be forgotten. All right, and this is something that America, also known as Babylon, the new Babylon, spiritual Egypt, all right, is not learning from Sodom and Gomorrah. Alright? They're not learning from that. So they're thinking that, they're in the right path. Alright? And they're doing a lot of wickedness, a lot of foolishness. Those Israelis over there in the land, Israel. Alright? Those Israelis over there, they having all kind of folly going on over there. That just to show you that they are not the Lord's people either. Alright? This is just how it is. Alright? It says, verse 9, but wisdom rescued her servants from the danger. Right? It says here, wisdom protected Jacob. Alright? It says, a righteous man once had to escape from his brother's anger, and wisdom guided him, guided him in the right way. Alright? And this is what, that wisdom is going to do for us in Jacob's trouble time. It's going to guide us guide us or guide us in the correct way. We're not going to, the Lord is going to work with us in that time. You're going to hear a voice in your head telling you, go elsewhere, go this way, go that way, or not to go so, because it might have danger on that end. This is how the Lord is operate. Alright? It says, a righteous man once had to escape from his brother's anger, and wisdom guided him in the right way. She showed him God's kingdom and allowed him to know about holy things. Alright, holy goes into what separate. Alright, things that separate from the world. She made him prosperous and successful in his work. When others were greedy for what he had and wanted to take it away from him, wisdom stood by him and made him rich. She protected him from his enemies who were waiting for a chance to attack him. She gave him victory in a hard fight, so that he might realize that nothing can make a person stronger than serving God. Alright? And this, I will end it here, because, I'm kind of pressing for time. Alright? So, wisdom is that principal thing. Alright? And we have to get that wisdom. In these times that we're in right now, we have to have that wisdom. Akiyam and Akwats out there. Alright, so with that, I'd like to give all praises and all glory unto the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Ahmad Bayan signing out, and I will say, Shalom, keep the faith. Akiyam and Akwat out there, keep the faith. We almost home. Keep prayed up, keep fasting, and keep pushing this work with truth and sincerity. Shalom.